Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me. I'm getting choked on my coffee as I get started. But thank y'all for coming in tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and have a little bit of presentation, short presentation tonight. I'm on the road. I'm out on the West Coast right now. Just came up through the Midwest, and we'll talk about some of those details and things that's been going on this week. And as always, when I'm on the road, I just get little snippets of what's going on in the world and not able to catch up with everything and stay caught up with all the latest. So if you have any information or anything you want to discuss, absolutely throw it in there and chat. Like I said, there's not anything that I'm won't discuss with you that I can. Of course, with certain information about the cold cases and things that we're doing and looking at, of course. Until cases reach certain level or depth, we really don't discuss any of the cold case, open cases that we're working. But I appreciate y'all being here tonight, and I'm trying to get enough coffee. I left the Midwest. Well, let's see what day. A few days ago, I left, of course, right before Hurricane Milton came into Florida. I was down there, and as I came up, I dropped off my in-laws to make sure that they weren't in the path. And of course, we have some property that we're moving to in mid-Florida. And of course, I moved there, and we get not saying that I brought on bad luck or anything, but we were in just the upper northern edge of where Hurricane Milton came across, and so our damage was very minimal. We were very fortunate. We had some neighbors not as fortunate that had, from what Mrs. Steve sent me images of, that they had some damage. We had some fence damage and some shingles and some siding, but nothing major that can't be fixed. But all the other families that are south of us and all those individuals been touched and harmed, our thoughts and prayers are with them. And so, but like I said, we were very fortunate. But as I came up through South Georgia, I had seen the storm of that came through a couple of weeks ago, and there's some areas in South Georgia absolutely devastated. I mean, of course, with some of it, some tornadoes that spun off of it, probably so. Not to the extent that you see in the Carolinas, but there's a lot of families, even in South Georgia, that they lost their livelihoods as far as industries, pecan trees, things of that nature. But then after I left them, of course, I traveled into the Midwest. We had some really good meetings with some individuals that we'll discuss about in a few. And and after those meetings, I headed west. But anyway, let's get started a little bit with our presentation here. One of the things we're going to be discussing tonight, of course, is the countdown that we have with Richard Allen going to trial. If you have any information regarding the homicides of Abby and Libby, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has that information, prosecutor, defense, for the fact that during this fight for justice for the loss of these two children, they have to have all that information. If you have such information, make sure they have it. Some of the latest things that's just when I was popping up and looking at some things. was, of course, that the defense believes the state's offering of the testimony would be driven by their desire to use said guards, inmates, administrator, and law enforcement officers to establish the veracity of alleged incriminating statements made by defendant Allen. The motion states. Yeah, that's they hit the absolute what court is about. They nailed it. Of course, this is what the prosecution wants. Of course, this is what we all want. We want that, regardless of who that individual is, that they go to the stand, take the stand, deliver the evidence, and if they have that evidence, we know what the the motivation of the prosecution is. We know the motivation of what witnesses are to tell the truth, to swear to tell the truth, and present that evidence. The jury will weigh these individuals as they present that evidence and that testimony. And just like the state could reverse this and says that they believe that the witnesses for the defense would be using their whoever they bring to the stand to establish veracity of innocence. I just found this statement a little bit disingenuous for the fact that it's so obvious that this, of course, is just I don't know where they get all this stuff from. That's what happens when you have people testifying. But like I said, it's just something that struck my humor when I was reading this article of what the intent of the prosecution was, and that it's not something that hopefully these attorneys haven't finally understood what the what direction and the purpose of the prosecution is. But they're excellent attorneys, and like I said, we've seen through certain things in the past of where they would come in and have some word salad as far as what was it, 136-page document of the Odinites and their theory of what went on and all the other stuff that in their one of their Frank's motions. I've got my coffee right here. This is some really good coffee. Made with the best water that you can find on the West Coast. Straight out of the tap. All right. But I thought that. But another thing, like I said, as I was driving across last month, I went up to Evansdale in Missouri, and on our foundation and on our travel, I had a 3,166 mile trip last month. Of course, I didn't get to add that on to the our map and our True Crime Web Foundation whenever I have the opportunity of showing the mileage traveled and the cases that we worked. And then, of course, we've got what's going on currently. As I came through the Midwest and started headed out here to the West Coast to meet up with one of our teams to discuss and to work on a case out here for one of our for a co-case. But while I was in the Midwest, I had some really great meetings. Met with one senator, of course, regarding a case that we are looking at that we brought new evidence into, or to the prosecutor. And of course, that family had reached out and met with a senator, and they wanted to see the presentation. And I was able to give that presentation to the senator, and also was able to meet another individual on a side note during my time there, of another foundation, an advocate of a victim's family that had lost a loved one due to gun violence, and look forward to working with that foundation in the future. And they were very interested in what the True Crime Web Foundation does, and hopefully we'll be able to collaborate and have an impact with their foundation and their assistance of other families as we move forward with all this stuff that goes on continuously as what the foundation's mission is. All right, before I get too far behind, let's go over here and see what's happening in chat. See what's happening here. All right. BGOG, good to see you. There's Barbara Hall. Excellent to see you. And of course, Barbara Hall is the mother of Timmy D's cold case that we are working in Missouri also. Hello, Paula. And if you don't, look up Timmy D's case and you will see. And if you go on YouTube and type in Timmy D's coverage, you'll see it where Barbara is deeply involved and has been fighting for justice for quite a while. Then we have Paula here. It's good to see you. Bama Sin. Excellent. Bama Sin has been active. Says, you're going to be snoozing tonight. You filled up your Suburban and took it up to the North Carolina for the hurricane supplies. Excellent. Thank you. Hats off to you. Kudos for everything that you do that you do, not only for this channel, but to helping these other families. It means a lot. But let me get out of that right quick, and then I'll get back to that. I got this new computer, and it's pretty sensitive. I haven't got my fingers adjusted to this, how this thing is functioning. Oh, me. Southern Gal. Good to see you. If you would send me an email in the next day or two, there is an off chance as I go back east that I might be able to get in touch with you. And so send me an email and for if there is that opportunity of me being able to meet up with you and discuss a case or two. All right. Miranda Lee, good to see you. Hello, Cryptex. Good to see you also. I stopped by. It said that you were live, but you had just went off on one of your earlier show. I think you was with Farmer. And so I watched some of that tonight, but I didn't get to make it in time for your live. I have a lot of good creators that stop in here. We got Southern Gal, got Cryptex. Hello, Popper's Green. Good to see you. Hello, Dandelions. Good to see you. True Cromwell, I thought you weren't going to the Midwest trip. No, I traveled through the Midwest. I went up and just stopped in. Didn't know when I left Florida and went up to Georgia. And as I passed through Georgia, I picked up some of the an exhibit. And just as a precaution, that as I traveled through the Midwest and hitting the interstates to come out to the west side, I contacted one of the families, and they were able to successfully make contact with the senator. And anytime, like I said, I try to always be prepared. And fortunately, I had stopped. It wasn't anything that we had planned initially, but there's always the possibility that they were going to be able to be successful in making that connection, and they were. And so I did detour my trip west for a day. And now I paid for that yesterday because after that meeting, I drove 21 straight hours. It put me behind where I want to be as far as getting out here on the West Coast. And so with that surprise meeting, of course, I always do what I can for the families. And then I drove 21 straight hours trying to get caught back up and get back on schedule. And I was able to do that successfully. I got here on the West Coast this morning and I slept in the parking lot for a few hours until check-in time. I didn't want to check in and, you get here 4 or 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock a.m., and there's no need to spend funds for the foundation on something that, for 4 hours. And so I didn't. So I just slept in the parking lot until they said I could check in. But yes, I wasn't going to originally stop in the Midwest until that family said that they were able to. But like I said, I paid for it. I'm still paying for it. I'm a little tired. I've taken a nap or two throughout the day today or today's time frame. Got some meeting with, and we're able to make some contact with the families out here, and weren't able to meet with them today, but I will be meeting with them tomorrow before we go out and start doing things on the West Coast. All right. Thank you, Josh Bosch. Ashley May, I'm glad the parents are okay. Yes, Mrs. Steve's parents are okay. She's heading up tomorrow into South Georgia to pick them up and then return back to Florida. We just didn't want them. They have certain medical issues and things that we don't want to risk them without electricity. And the power did go off several times, even for whatever reason. I mean, it wasn't that the power kept flickering on and off throughout the last 2 days. Internet popped back up today. So there's a lot of things going on with that. All right. All right. Let's see here. But yeah, I did the currently, whereas, like I said, this is a trip that we did a few weeks ago. It was a total of 3,166. And then, of course, this trip right now, I only have 2,559 miles so far. And when I head back east, you pretty well can just about double this. I've still got some mileage here to do as I run back and forth and meet with some other casework I've got out here. But and also, Mind the Monster has sent me something that I might be taking a side trip if I have that. And I may get an opportunity to take care of something for her here on the West Coast as I travel back east. I just haven't decided, or we haven't completed what our mission here on the West Coast is. So there's a lot of things that can go on, and if the opportunity occurs, and if there's something I can do for them, I absolutely will. For Mind the Monsters, another great creator that has a lot of impact on these families, and I appreciate that. All right, let's see here. Steve, why do you think Chadwell is being called by the defense? I'm thinking the defense will try to establish a connection between Chadwell and the Kleins and to the homicides. The defense, you are absolutely correct. The defense are going to try to bring as many alternate possibilities into this case, whereas they may not be able to point the fingers and say certain things, but these through the questioning and deductions of the jurors, they will reach certain conclusions, regardless of what the court tells them. But if those witnesses get on the stands and certain questions are asked in a certain manner, and there's an art to it, and you will see these attorneys able to ask about these individuals, and establish certain things, and through that, certain thought processes may come to those jurors. Of course, we have to see how the judge allows that questioning to proceed, what questions are allowed, and see the control of the court to make sure that nothing comes in that the court doesn't wish to come in that can harm by either side this case. But yeah, that's a good question, and but that's what the defense is going to do. They're going to try to cloud and bring up those points, and it is something that should be brought out. I think that the state's evidence should stand alone, regardless of what the prosecution. That all the prosecution evidence should stand on its own. Let the defense throw what they wish out there, and that the state should have a strong case. It shouldn't be easy to convict an individual. It should be extremely difficult, and to make sure that the system works. All right. Hello, Hayes. Good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you in a few days. I got a great team out here on the West Coast. I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff, a lot of planning going into this trip, and I thank everyone that has helped us through funding, through the support, thoughts, everything. There's a lot that goes into these cases, and trying to get our team together to get them organized, get housing, get food, get everything set up, and is quite the ordeal. And I'm just thankful that we have such great people out here that wish to help on this stuff. It's amazing. Oh, man. Hello, Mr. Steve. Good to see you. Good to see you also. Glad you're here. And Josh Potts, do you think the witnesses will actually be presented to a jury, or do you think it's just to get on record for appeal? That's like I said, there will be certain hearings, and even during a trial, you'll see a lot of times when witnesses are going to be brought up, and they will take the jury out of the court, and if the prosecution says, or if the defense ask the jury or ask the judge for certain types of hearings to establish exactly where is this questioning going, what is the relevance, and they'll have those little mini hearings throughout a trial. I've seen it many times in Georgia, and I assume that they'll have the same type and same manner of being able to remove the jury from there and address each of these witnesses case by case, and we'll be able to see if the judge will allow certain directions and certain questions to be asked of some of these witnesses, regardless if it's Klein or any other third party possibility as far as the defense or the prosecution. It doesn't matter who's bringing that witness up there. They have to have something that's relevant to this case that they're trying to get up there, and they'll ensure that because that's just part of a trial. Dandy, you're correct. So often I get in these chats, and you get top messages, and then you have live messages, and that's true. Sometimes because you don't get all the stuff that's going on unless you're there on that. Hello, Anna. Good to see you. I'm looking forward to seeing you also. Another great team member on the West Coast for us. Thank you. Thank you. No guarantees, but like I said, as I head back east, there is that possibility. Depends. I have a family that is looking at trying to set up another meeting in the Midwest, and it depends if that meeting goes through or not. If they do set up a meeting, I won't be able to stop by. But if the meeting falls through, then I will be able to. Yeah, it was part of the rerun. I missed the live. I was wanting to get in the chat and say hello, but I missed the. It was like I said, I'm part of the rewatch crew on that Cryptex, but I just saw you up, and like I said, it said it was live, but when I clicked on it, you had already closed out, sadly. But I wish I had made it to the live. Yeah. There's for Georgia, for me to come out here. Yeah, there's a couple of routes I can come from Florida. I can take that lower route um, on the, but certain parts of where I was heading for this case didn't allow me to take that lower section. And like I said, the families contacted me. I didn't even know when I left Georgia if I was going to have that meeting. They called me. I guess I was somewhere in Tennessee or Kentucky when the decision was made that yes, senator would be able to meet with me. And so, fortunately, I just happened to get into where I stay in St. Louis. Whenever I'm up there, I was able to get a room. Oh, that's funny. I don't know if that's funny or sad right there, Miss Irene. 21 hours is what you can do when you're young. Just saying. Um, I did it pretty well, but I drive a lot, and my whole career, I think I evolved as far as patrol. I guess it's sort of like taxi drivers or truck drivers that after you do it for a while, you don't get as stoved up when you're driving those long distances. I've sat for hours and hours and hours in those car seats, and it, like I said, I can drive forever as long as I have enough coffee. And I did drink. I have a big thermos I drank out of, and a couple of coffee mugs. And I don't stop. The only time I stop is for fuel, and that's the only time. When I get on the road, I don't stop at restaurants to eat or anything. Wherever I stop to get fuel, whatever's handy there, I get it and get on the road and cover those miles. Um, I think it was like 16 or 17. It was somewhere around 16 or 1700 miles that I had to go during that 21 hours, something like that. I can't remember. But, yeah, right now, standing as far as the foundations and travels for this year. Last year, of course, we only went, I can't say just only, it was our first year of getting started and working with some of these families. We went 19,000 miles last year. And I was hoping to get somewhere around 30, and I said, we might even get up to 40,000. And it does appear that when I return, we'll break the 40,000 miles. It appears so. I can't see. It depends on some of the other casework and exactly which route I take back. But we're going to be right there at 40,000 without doubt. So it's been a good year, and I'm very happy. And everybody with this community should be very proud of what has happened this year. And we'll be discussing certain things with some of the cold case families in the Midwest of what the work product was from the foundation. While we can't go in depth of what some of the evidence is, because the prosecutors are still looking at how they will use that and what direction they'll go and how they'll address certain things in the future as far as if they move forward with the cases. And I mean, it's not something that we're going to see happen in the next 30 days. Certain things can happen as far as the investigation that may take months before all the evidence is brought and can be used in a court. Because there's a lot of different ways of evidence being used, and what when you stir that pot, what will pop up, and what other type of crimes and individuals will be associated. So there's a lot of things that go on. Just because you have that new evidence doesn't mean that we're going to have justice in 30 days. It could be 6 months or it could be a year, and there can be other investigations ongoing that we will never see the light of day, but it will have an effect upon those communities and upon certain individuals that might be doing certain things within those communities. And for those things, while I have an understanding of it, and the prosecutor and law enforcement has those things, that's part of it. And I'm absolutely proud that y'all allow us to go out there and have this impact on these families and communities. Hello, Mustang 65. Oh, everybody's saying hello. Oh, okay. Miranda is still in the hospital. Got admitted on October 8th. I'm still here. Kidney infection. That is resistant to medications. Dang. Get well soon. Oh, that's a good observation, Anna. And Chadwell has that full arm tattoo. It looks like Libby. I wonder if they would make him wear short sleeves. If he does get to be in front of that, I think there was a lot of argument when that first occurred of when that tattoo was made, and who it is of. And but yes, that is a good point. Hadn't even thought about that possibility. But yes, if he does get there, I guarantee, unless they're able to some way get it him, and because if they won't let the odinous part in, they're not going to let some of this other stuff in either. They'll try to, and of course, that'll be sorted out in those hearings. Oh yeah, there's a lot of psychos out there. Yes, there are. Yeah, I hate that you have that immunity deficiency. That's sad. I hope you get well soon. Oh man, you have to appreciate that humor. Maybe a number of board convicts will get field trips courtesy of the defense. Uh, that's something that from the dark humor of law enforcement that we appreciate that. Mind the monsters. Hello, good to see you. I was just speaking about you texting me, and we literally, even as the show was starting, we were discussing. We were texting back and forth. Gotta love Mind the Monsters, and there's a lot of great channels. So like I spoke earlier of Southern Gal, the work that these channels do behind the scenes as far as bringing awareness to these cases, and there's a lot of them out there. Absolutely, hats off to all of them. Oh, so Mind the Monster, you're stalking her, or she's stalking you? Oh man. Hello, Mitzi. Good to see you. Hello, Gibbo. Mark says, Steve, if I'm interested in a local cold case, should I start with contacting the sheriff's department by email, or should I go in person? If you're interested in a local cold case, I can tell you that speaking with the families first is absolutely important. But also, if you wish to talk to the sheriff's office, you can. But that family, they will know what walls and what fights that they have and what their concerns are. You know, the sheriff's office, unless you do for your Freedom of Information Act and try to get those case files, they're not really going to tell you or meet with you a lot. Whereas those families, they want those stories told. You can see it with some of the on these YouTube channels. You'll see a lot of these creators speaking to these families, and when the families, face the issues that law enforcement has moved on to other cases due to resources or for other reasons that they may have classified it or they may have closed a case, those cases are never closed to the families. It's always something that's in their mind and something that they continue to fight for years. So just my 2 cents, I would reach out to those families first, and they will get you the key information. And if they can't get it, they'll tell you who to talk to within that department or local agency or state agency. And but that's just my 2 cents. But thank you for going out there and looking at some of these cases. And if I never do anything for you, or if you do find something in a cold case you want me to give you an opinion on, send me an email. And during it may take a while. There's nothing that is real quick as far as some of the things I do, because there's a lot of things going on, a lot of cases. You can ask each of these families that I work with that, sometimes it's weeks or months before I can get back to them. But absolutely, if you get into something and you find something and you just want opinion on it, absolutely let me know. If I can help you in any way, I absolutely will. Gibble says morning. It is morning somewhere, and it feels like morning to me right now. All right. So anyway, we're at 37,000 miles for the year, and I put in quite a few in just last 24 hours. Did a lot of driving last night, as you'll see. As I came across, this is just a picture. I came over a hilltop, and as far as you can see was this road going through the brush. And so I said, well, let me snap this picture. Now, this was before, and I was cruising through, I think it was Kristen Behind the Crime Door show earlier, and she was talking about all the harvesting that was going on across the country. And I saw that yesterday. There was throughout our green belts of whatever corn, bean, or whatever is being harvested, that you had these clouds of dirt and dust as these harvesters were working, and there were bugs. And my windshield, you could hardly see through it. I could not believe the amount of bugs. But Kristen Behind the Crime Door told me that that some of those farmers, and I never knew that they introduce certain types of bugs into the fields to fight other bugs or whatever it is. And then when they're harvesting, those bugs take flight. Well, I said, well, that explained my windshield. So you learn something every day. Don't know if that was the case, but I know that whatever bugs I ran across, their life cycle is not part of next year's harvesting. I'm sure that they're short lifespan anyway. The longest I drove was from McKinney, Texas to Vegas, 1,200 miles. My brain was fried. Lucky I didn't crash on the strip. When I drive, if you ever are with me, or if you're ever, like Mrs. Steve or anyone, whenever they call me, or I'm having a conversation with some of the other cold case families, they'll get on the phone and we're talking. They may ask, where you at? I can get you within about 300 miles of where I'm at, because I really, I know where I start and I know what my end destination is. Everything in between is just a blue line on my map. And all I'm looking for is that, oh, this road here says I got to go 400 miles, or I've got to go 35 miles before I make a turn. And I have state lines. I miss them all the time. So I can't. Some of you out there may know exactly where I was at when this was taken. I have no idea. I think I was somewhere maybe near Missouri or Nebraska. Don't know. Somewhere's in there. I'm pretty sure it was daylight. But it started getting dark, I think, as I was coming across Nebraska. And it got dark, and then I did a lot of driving in the dark. And I don't know where I was at here. I know someone will know exactly where this is. And you can start seeing all the bugs on my windshield here, all those smears. That here, pretty good. That's when I started my day. Here, as I went across, and I started getting all the bugs in the world that you needed. And then at sundown, this is through the side window, and there's a couple of bugs on that, but that was my sundown. And I think that was somewhere Nebraska. It had to be Nebraska, because I don't know if I got to Wyoming with daylight. And I have no idea where that is. All I know, it was dark. But anyway, that's where I've been doing for the last, in the last 24 hours. Let's see what's going on in chat. Oops, get over here and get going here again. But I appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, if you got any questions about anything, throw them out there. If I can answer it, I will. Oh, yes. And Anna said, my husband used to drive 1,000 miles in 23 hours going from up here to Los Angeles. A lot of that time was a ridiculous 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And this is something that, for whatever reason, yesterday I hit some really good traffic. I don't think, other than one or two little old, not little old communities, but some of those larger cities. But even there, traffic I never stopped. It was always pretty close to the speed limit. And some of it was 55. But there's certain sections across the country that a large part of it is 70, 75 plus. And there's 80 mile an hour in at least one state. I think it's at least one state. It could be two states. And you can cover some mileage at 80 mile an hour, even at, because a lot of the traffic, it may say 80 mile an hour, but most people don't drive 80 mile an hour, especially when it's dark. They'll slow down. Not so much for me. I kept going. It didn't bother me. I'll drive. I love driving at night. Traffic is low, and when I get started, I don't stop. And okay, so we've established who the stalker is here now. She beat me here. I couldn't stalk her better lady. Okay, yeah, the stalkers. Oh. I'll rephrase it. If I think I have information, regarding, yes, if you, and this is very important, this is what we do with the foundation. I work with the families, and then, of course, if we develop any information on a case, it goes, we call 911, or we call whatever investigator or whatever tip line regarding that. Okay, so yes, if the surviving family member is the prime suspect, of course, yes, I misunderstood what you are, but yes, contact the agency that is involved with it with whatever information you develop. Absolutely, and good for you. Oh, man. Sometimes here in my area, there are Mormon crickets. They make slicks on the road when millions of them get unalive on the asphalt. That's unreal. Never heard of that. I was coming across through an area yesterday or this morning. and on my mapping program, it said, warning, cows on the road. And being someone that has one time in my life during a high-speed pursuit run over a cow, which is quite exciting. The cow ran between me and the truck I was pursuing on a highway. I didn't know what I hit. It was quite disconcerting. You know, you're doing 100 something mile an hour and you hit something. Almost turned me over. But it surprised me that the map thing, and I don't know how. I haven't figured out how you enter whatever caution or obstacle is ahead of you. While sometimes the mapping says that there's a speed trap ahead, law enforcement, or a road hazard. Last night was the first time I'd ever been warned of a cow on the road, or this morning. It's like 1 or 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Miss Siren says, I think that overpass is in Nebraska. It probably is, because Nebraska is huge. And when I left and I got into Nebraska, I know I was in Nebraska or as I came across, because it had a city, and then it had Nebraska as far as that city. So I knew I was near the state line. And and it probably took me most of the day to get across Nebraska. It's not easy. So yeah, it's a long thing. Oh man. Funny thing about Texas is so big. I heard ZZ Top on the radio about 17 times before I reached New Mexico. There was a deputy one time told me, and he was right. I looked it up, that it was as far from where we were at in Georgia to Texas, that Texas was as wide as it was from where we were at to get to Texas. And it was true. Absolutely amazing how huge Texas is. Josh DePosh. Be right back. I'm checking on my sweet potato chili. Never heard of it. My sweet potato chili. That's interesting. Nebraska used to be 55. State patrols just pulled people over by the dozens. I see a lot of law enforcement out there. Minor monsters, I'm with you. I'd rather drive at night. You know, it's cooler. Don't worry about it. Yeah, y'all have on y'all's freeways 80 mile an hour in Idaho. State highways are usually 65. Open range, don't hit a cow. They have right of way. Oh my goodness, I have to be careful. That's funny. Josh Posh says, my parents always drove at night, but I have a fear of getting stuck on a highway in the middle of nowhere at night. Yeah, it's dangerous to be out there at night, but I have enough safety lights, strobe lights. I keep, like I mentioned in Kristen's show earlier tonight, that when I was leaving prior to the hurricane coming in, Mrs. Steve and I discussed that, between my son-in-law and Mrs. Steve and all the preparation that we had and watching the storm and hoping and looking at it that it was going to go south of where our property is, that I asked Mrs. Steve to ensure that she felt comfortable with her hurricane kit. Did she think that she had everything? She looked at me and told me, well, my hurricane kit is going west. So she looks at me as nothing more than a hurricane kit. Oh, me. We laughed about that. Now, this is something I did see last night. I did see a lot of deer, and I saw some critters. I don't know what they were. They were strange-looking animals. They were four-legged. I just don't know exactly. I know some of them were coyotes, but there were some that a little bit smaller than the coyotes, extremely broad, but I don't know exactly what they were. We moved to Arizona from New Jersey. We went southern route due to the season. I thought we'd never get out of Texas. Yeah, first time I crossed Texas, it's quite impressive. Yes, John Paul. Prayers for those who have family in Florida. Absolutely. Minor Monster says, we made it through the hurricane and the day after we lost power. Yesterday, I was so frustrated. Did y'all have any damage? Yes, all the damage we had was very minor. We had a couple fences or fence around the property, two different sections of it on two different runs, of course, was damaged, some shingles and some siding. But other than that, we escaped any damage. Some of the neighbors, like I said, they had some trees on some of their properties, but we were on just the northern edge of it. And as you progress further south, that's of course where it was far more disastrous and devastating. And that's what I saw when I was coming up through for the other Helena, wherever how you pronounce the last hurricane that went through Georgia and went up in the Carolinas. That some of those communities absolutely devastated. And in Georgia, I don't know how many of y'all have experienced this, but there's a certain thing that occurs in tornadoes, that after the path of a tornado through timber, mainly Georgia pines, you can smell them. And as I was coming through South Georgia, that smell came to me of what you experience when there's so much tree damage as far as Georgia pines, because you can smell it. And I've been through and done some rescue work and recoveries from other tornadoes, such as the Palm Sunday, and you have that same Georgia pine smell of when a tornado comes through and just wipes out hundreds and hundreds of pine trees. You'll smell it. And as I was coming through South Georgia, I smelled that. And like I said, I don't know if it was just the hurricane damage to the pine trees or if it was a tornado. I was returning home alone one winter night when the freeway just closed due to a foot of new snow. Please let me go the 50 miles to home alone on the freeway. Interesting. I saw some gates, and I can't imagine that. And there's a lot of signs as I travel across the country that when flashing this road's closed. And they had these gates that would come down. I can't imagine being out there on those roads under certain conditions. Minor Monster said he had a tree fall on the power line, a lot of debris in the yard, and a little flooding, but the swamp took most of the water. Definitely blessed through this one. Absolutely, I'm glad so that was so. Do you know the casualty count between Helen, Helene, or however how you pronounce it, in this one? No, I don't. I don't know when they'll finally tally up what's happening in the Carolinas. That's going to be unbelievable when they finally finish that. Plus, what will the count be on these two hurricanes? Anna says that the coyotes and other species of foxes, wolves are also present in the West. Some of these were almost like wasn't a beaver, but they were smaller than a shepherd, and they were extremely dark and big. I don't know what they were, but I do recall seeing some fox and some coyotes, and either these are very fast-moving beavers or some other critter y'all have that groundhog or whatever. I don't know. But if it was groundhogs, they're huge. Like I said, I was shocked to see a couple of them. I didn't know what those. All right. But just wanted to call in and check or have a show tonight, talk about a little stuff going on and what's happening out there. And we got a busy week. Looking forward to working with my team, and extremely important. And I wish to, it may be. Oh, and I saw something else. I'll think of it. It looked like an otter. If it was an otter, it was huge, but it was something very similar to an otter. It wasn't a beaver, but I did see at least one otter. I thought that was roadkill last night. But that may be. But if those are badgers, they're bigger than I thought. And they're big. Yeah, I didn't know that they got that, but that would make sense. That's possibly what it was. But I saw three of them. It was surprising. I'll talk with you about that. Like I said, I'll actually look that up tonight and see if that's possibly what that was. Like I said, I saw three of them. It was, I couldn't figure them out. I knew they weren't bear. It wasn't bear. It wasn't even cubs. So it wasn't that. But I couldn't figure out what they were. They were pretty quick. I know that. Never even occurred to me to think about badger. Oh, that's my wife and I got lost on North Carolina Trail years ago after Christmas. Wound up hiking through the cold night. Oh my goodness. Huh. Yeah. Here, let me get the right one up. They'll be searching for the missing in North Carolina through next May, I suspect. So far, Helene 250, Milton 17. Yes, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And will that be ultimately will they find them all? Some of the stuff that happened in the Carolinas, probably not. And in some areas of Florida, probably not. I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on. And it's absolutely terrible. Thank you, Mustang 65. Glad you stopped in. Yeah, that may be exactly what it was. I don't know. Like I said, it was dark, and it was many miles between the two sightings. I just couldn't figure out what they were, and I don't know if they were badger. It was some pretty hilly, mountainous areas. and I have no idea what that is. I'll have to look that up. But I'll look those up in badgers, and I look forward to talking about what those are. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, I'm going to be in some pretty remote area for the next few days. I don't know if we'll have access to how good of an internet we'll have, but if I can get on the internet, I'll have another one of these late nights, and maybe even get a team member to join me or something. But y'all stay safe out there, and we appreciate everything that y'all do for this channel. And for without y'all's support, we couldn't do what we do. And absolutely thank y'all. And we'll see y'all soon. Bye.